Namaste, and welcome back to Awaken Living with Nibodhi. Today's episode is by special request by a lot of you. I've been asked to do this discussion, this talk for a long time now. So here it is. We're talking about menopause because it happens to, let's see, every woman on the planet. So it's very important. And a lot of my friends, a lot of my clients are of that age of perimenopause or menopause and want deeper information, deeper education on this. So here's the download. First, I just want to say that menopause really should be seen as a sacred ritual, a sacred time of life, a profound transformation, an initiation. It's a transformation of the body, mind, the consciousness, and it can be a portal of awakening. And unfortunately, in our society, it's the modern society, it's really misunderstood. It's even feared and dreaded. But if we look at it from the Vedic perspective, from indigenous wisdom perspective, from Ayurveda, yoga, Vedic knowledge, indigenous tribes, it's a profound time of life. It's this turning of life. And more than anything, it's the stepping into your full power. If you're listening to this, if you're a woman, it's a stepping into your full feminine Shakti power, where actually your intuition should be greater than it's ever been. Your clarity, your ability to do self-inquiry, your contemplative practices. And it's where you become the elder and the wise people, the wise women of the tribe. And when we understand it as a transformation, like in Ayurveda, the middle age of our life is the pitta time. We're creating, we're full of ambition, we're activity, we're out early engaged. The menopause time is the Vata stage of life. It's the air element and the ether moving back towards the unmanifest. It's a time for inward focus. It's a time for that inner wisdom. It's a time for reflection. It's a time for the spiritual ripening where you now become the reflection of wisdom for the tribe. And it's also a time biologically when the hormones fluctuate, energy levels fluctuate, emotions fluctuate. And what Ayurveda and all natural wisdom encourages in that is not to fight against them, but to harmonize with them. And that's what the Vedas tell us. Like the mind mirrors the five elements, and the five elements shape everything in the body. And any imbalance to the body, any imbalance to the five elements, to the doshas, is going to create an imbalance in the mind. So it's simply just your body and nature asking you to be in more alignment, more attunement. And it's the same scenario with all indigenous tribes, not just the Vedic wisdom. They honor the menopause period as this sacred initiation. And in the ancient times, the goddess and men were raised to prepare to become these wise elders, because especially the woman, she becomes the wisdom keeper, she becomes the guide, she becomes the seer. And in those cultures, our value actually increased with age. Now our value is placed on how much we produce, how quickly we produce it, how much success we have producing it like this. But, in these indigenous tribes, there's no cultural narrative of decline with age. There's a recognition of depth because you have life experience and that can be shared. So time becomes this beautiful thing. Aging becomes a beautiful thing. It's actually looked forward to. It's a thing to be celebrated. And the indigenous tribes also say that when there are imbalances to the hormones and to energy levels in this, it's because there's not enough connection to nature. So they recommend doing vision quests, doing sweat lodges, being in nature, walking on the earth, quiet environments, being near water, watching the sky, feeling the wind, feeling the sun. All of nature, the five elements, is recalibrating the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the nervous system. Nature restores our perspective on life. because in nature, there's no social identity, there's no personality, there's nobody you have to be. You're just reconnecting with life. Now, that would be a really cool thing if, some of the goddesses out there did rites of passages out in nature with each other, and really seeing that time as it's not an ending of youth and vitality, it's the beginning of your real power. It's the beginning of Shakti. It is a biological shift. It's marking a biological shift. It's a biological shift in identity, in perception, and in purpose. And because your purpose becomes so much greater. Not that it was never not great, but it becomes even more greater. And biologically, if there's an imbalance to the 5 elements, the 3 doshas, some people may feel heat. Some people may have anxiety. Some people may have sleep disruptions. Some people may go through these roller coaster mood changes. There may be dryness of the skin or vaginal dryness. Those are all real things, but they're symptoms of a deeper imbalance. And so when the awareness is brought inwards and the energy is honed in, this transition from the creative period of life to the creative wisdom of life and the inspiration of life becomes so much deeper. And one of the things that I hear the most, and it's actually why so many people come to me during menopause, is because of the lack of energy, the lack of inspiration, the lack of sexual vitality, and all the time people are coming with vaginal dryness, painful intercourse, things like this. And I'm going to tell you that inspiration, your creativity, your energy levels, your sexual habits, your sexual pleasure, your eros does not need to disappear with menopause. I have plenty of clients and friends who have gone through menopause with virtually no symptoms and are actually enjoying the best sex of their life. Okay. What menopause really does from a Ayurvedic perspective, it's redirecting your energy. In Ayurveda and Tantra, that reproductive energy is ojas. And in menopause, it's transforming that ojas into tejas. And that fuels your creativity, that fuels insight, that fuels the spiritual perception and understanding. You're no longer of the age where you're capable of creating another human, but you're capable of creating so many other things. You create meaning. But one of the things is that the hormone shifts do affect the prana, the tejas, and the ojas. So that's the reproductive system, that's the brain. And so it affects the hormones of the brain and the reproductive system. And modern neuroscience has actually shown this as well. Some studies have shown how changes in brain energy metabolism and our mood regulation and cognition directly affects the reproductive system. And we imagine, like, there's 2 ways of seeing this. Like, these changes, one is that if the changes go unmanaged, if you're going through menopause and you're not managing those changes, you're not taking care of yourself, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be brain fog, there's going to be that disconnection, there's going to be a lack of purpose, or may even be depression, depending on the constitution. But the same energy, the exact same energy, can be cultivated into the insight and creativity and deep focus and your sexual energy. Okay. Sexual energy and creative energy come from the same source, and how you direct it determines the outcome. Okay. When sexual expression, when hormones change, that energy doesn't disappear. It just redirects itself. In the Taoist tradition, they call it Jing, the reproductive system, and the reproductive energy, and it transforms into Shen, which is spirit. In Tantra, it's the Kundalini Shakti. It's the Kundalini transforming from the reproductive system to the pineal gland and having an awakening. And in Ayurveda, it's just refining the ojas. And so that can be used to increase your ability to create something. It can increase your desire to create. It doesn't have to be sexually. It can be anything. It can increase your deepest emotional expression. It can increase your intuition and your perception of the truth. But one of the reasons why that there is this lack of interest or less interest in casual and surface level sex is because there's more interest in purpose. There's more interest in meaningful connection. There's more interest in true intimacy. It's an internal inspiration. It's internal creativity. The Vata, the prana, is going inward versus outward. Okay? That's what Vata stage of life does. It directs the energy inward. So if you want to support both of these things, if it's important to you to have a great sex life in the later years of life, and you can, because I know plenty of women who are having the greatest sex of their life, and they're fully inspired. They go hand in hand. The people who are having the greatest sex in older age, are the most inspired, and the most inspired are the ones who are also having greater sex. But there's practices that a lot of these people do, and what Ayurveda recommends and the Taoist traditions recommend. And the biggest one is to regulate your nervous system. And the best way to do that, number one, is through breath, is through breathing. The second way is through slow touch, whether it's yourself, you're touching yourself, or someone else. Because breath and touch, conscious, mindful, loving, devotional touch, again, whether it's yourself or someone else, reduces stress, reduces those stress hormones. When we're under stress, not only the digestive system gets affected, but the body uses that reserved energy to stay in the fight or flight state. And so when we're stressed, the reproductive system shuts off and gets used first. So there's no way to have a healthy sex life, to have good ojas when we're under stress. And there's things that you can do to support hormones naturally, like eating healthy fats is one of the most important things, from nuts, from seeds, from ghee, from coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, healthy fats. And as the body ages, working out is so essential. I have almost every patient I have, as they're aging, making sure that they're doing weight training, because weights and doing muscles help your bones to stay strong, which helps your hormones to stay strong, which helps you to have a quality night's sleep, which is absolutely essential. And then the purpose of life is to lead a life of purpose. And this is the most important time to have an awareness practice. And so that may include a meditation practice or journaling or coming together with a satsang, a group of people where you can communicate with each other. But as far as the sexual energy goes, the Kundalini Shakti, I think there needs to be a reframe in that. Even just as far as the physical acts go, focus on the sensation of what's happening to your body, not performance. It's never been about performance, but we make it about that. But focus on the sensation. And just simple touch, because it creates so much oxytocin, it reduces stress, and really expand the definition of intimacy, whatever that means to you. Really try to expand that. And I think that that can happen by, we need to remove the cultural conditioning around age, because just because you're aging doesn't mean you can't have wonderful, loving, erotic, sensual, intimate sexuality. And it's not like everything is creative, right? So use other creative channels this way. Do writing, write poetry, make music, do art, teach younger people, get yourself involved in mentorship where you're mentoring younger people. Sexual energy is the creative energy of the universe. That's how everything exists. It needs expression, not just through the body. It needs expression through everything. But you have a body, so if you are inclined to use it in that way, please use it in that way. But if you do writing and art and music and poetry and dance and mentorship and do selfless service, it's going to create more energy. It's not going to deplete you. The energy is just changing form. And again, so many women I know, this energy deepens and becomes more refined. Okay. But if it's not part of the conversation, if you're not having this conversation with yourself, with your goddess friends, with your male friends, and this wisdom gets ignored, then the mind focuses on loss. It focuses on what it doesn't have. And lived experience is more important than anything else. And modern research is showing this too. Like sex after menopause, there's so much research on it. Um, but start just with the biology of that. Naturally, the estrogen is going to drop, right? And that is affecting the yoni. It's affecting the vaginal lubrication and its sensitivity. So estrogen drops when we're not getting enough fat, when we're not working out, when we're not getting enough nutrition. Okay. Testosterone declines more slowly, but it does play a pretty essential role in the desire. Okay. So that's one of the main things where women who have been tested to have low estrogen or testosterone, men too, um, report changes in libido and the arousal phase. And this Harvard study shows that 1/3 of women report sexual difficulty during menopause, whether it's dryness or painfulness. And that's simply because of estrogen drops and testosterone drops. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's herbs, there's nutrition, there's lifestyle. Like Ayurveda's one whole limb of Ayurveda is on Vajikarna, aphrodisiacs and sexuality, and keeping us vital and potent as we age. So a lot of desire and arousal and even orgasm decline comes due to these hormonal changes. Again, hormonal changes do happen naturally, but the symptomology is due to imbalances in the five elements in the body. Okay? And that's not the whole picture. That's part of the picture, but sexuality is not only hormone driven. Okay. Our psychological state plays a huge role. Our relationships, the quality of our relationships play a huge role. The meaning and attitude that we have towards eros, towards erotic innocence, towards our sensuality, our sexuality, what the mind tells us about it plays a huge role. And when these are brought to the consciousness, when these things are addressed mindfully, the sexual satisfaction is going to improve, even if there's a decline in hormones. Okay. So really it's true that mind is everything, mind over matter. Change the beliefs and get rid of the stigma around sex in midlife is going to naturally just improve your sexual enjoyment and satisfaction. Give yourself permission that it is great to do that if you want to. So the shift begins in the mind. The shift begins with the breath. Breathe and everything changes. So it's interesting because a lot of people, one of the reasons tell me that why sex improves after menopause. It's fascinating. I thought this was beautiful. So one reason is that you don't have to worry about being pregnant. There's no pregnancy pressure. You no longer have to carry the background tension awareness of becoming fertile. And that alone changes the nervous system. You're way more relaxed, less vigilant, yes. More relaxed, more vigilant. There's more presence. You can just be focused on the present moment. And likewise, as you age, you have greater self-awareness. You know your body more. You know what you want more. You know what turns you on and what doesn't turn you on. Hopefully, you know how to communicate more directly in expressing those needs. So that is going to lead to more satisfying, sensual, sexual experiences. If you've been curious about Ayurveda and want to actually understand your body and start applying it into your daily life, I built the complete Ayurveda course for exactly that. It contains more than 30 years of education and practice distilled into 50 lessons, with over 10 hours of content, guided meditations, personalized assessments, and so much more. It's designed so you'll feel real shifts as you go through it. You'll experience more energy, better digestion, increased mental clarity, and a deeper sense of balance. Lesson by lesson, it's all there. So go to Nibodhi.com/courses to learn more. Now, here's another thing that this is science that I found interesting, that as we age, that the arousal period takes longer due to reduced blood flow. So you want good blood flow, exercise, do pranayama, eat good food, eat good herbs, move, get sunshine. But there's actually nothing wrong with longer arousal periods, because slower arousal periods do show a connection to much deeper pleasure. because that can lead to longer foreplay, which means more intentional touch, more breath work, more eye gazing, more connection, more full body awareness, more oxytocin, right? And so the quality of your pleasure increases, right? And the goal isn't always to have an orgasm and not to have a speedy orgasm. It's love and connection. And hopefully, if you're of menopause age, you don't have to go to work anymore. So you have all day to play, to be a wise woman, to be embodied, to be erotic. And another key component to that is really developing and making sure that there is emotional intimacy. And this is why so many men and women have midlife crises, because they've lived a life without that emotional intimacy, without true erotic, sensual intimacy. So again, the sensuality, the sexuality can shift from performance to connection based. And when that happens, we produce huge amounts of oxytocin. That's the love and bonding hormone. And it creates emotional safety. And instead of fearing old age because they're going to put us in an old folks' home and be ignored, we value it and we look forward to it. And I mean, these principles align with basic modern neuroscience and sexual science and studies and Ayurveda and tantric and yogic teachings. It's all the same. The other thing is, a lot of people, when they age, they lose the attachment to the external identity. You just don't care anymore. Those youth-based, ego-driven identities dissolve, and your intimacy, whether it's physical or emotional, becomes so much less about appearance and more about truth. It becomes about sensation. It becomes about presence. It becomes about that profound, deep connection to life. Okay. And so, it's interesting because now one of the other things that everyone is asked, not everyone, but a lot of people ask me about, is the hormone therapy or the hormone replacement therapy. And I have friends who are just in their 50s who are taking and saying, everything's changing. I feel more like myself again. I feel more youthful. And Harvard did a study showing that hormone therapy does improve libido and responsiveness. And it actually helps with mental health and reduced depression, which naturally is going to improve your sexual desire. But I just want to say, there's side effects to that. And Ayurveda has herbs that do the same thing. But the goal is prevention, not to just treat the symptom, because the hormone therapy is treating the symptom of months, years, lifetime of imbalance. Because if we are in a life of balance, those hormone levels aren't going to drop that much. And so, in addition to all these things, the lifestyle factors, what Ayurveda calls the dinacharyas and the ritacharyas, the daily practices, the seasonal practices, are so important. And modern research, modern neuroscience has proven this. These factors are crucial for good sex life, good hormone balance, positive aging, sleep, good exercise, good emotional connections. All of those not only influence our sexual vitality, but our vitality in general. So, I mean, to me, it's a pretty clear conclusion that sexual vitality after menopause really is more about consciousness than anything else. The hormones do play a role, but it's about the consciousness. It's about the heart. It's about the intention. It's about the mindset and the purpose of life. Okay. And from the Vedic perspectives, really this menopause period is a return directionally towards source energy, towards that original Parashakti, that original energy that created everything. Okay. During the reproductive years of life, the energy is an outward flow. It's creating. During menopause, the energy consolidates and goes within. And that's true power. That's true Shakti. Okay. And the practices need to become more subtle. One of the greatest things, I think, is to go sit under the moon. Sit under the night sky. Stare at the moon, stare at the sky, breathe deeply, let the mind quiet, stable the emotional rhythms while connecting to the earth and to the heavens. The moon is called Chandra. It's also called Soma. Soma is the nectar of immortality. It's the inner nectar, it's the inner bliss, and it's cooling. So, especially if you're having hot flashes as part of your menopause, go bathe under the cool, fresh moonlight, under the cool sky at night, and even visualize like this lunar current flowing from the moon into the crown of your head, into your heart, down into your yoni, into your womb, and let that moonlight saturate every cell in your body so your body is glowing with moon essence. It will reduce the heat. It will restore that sense of inner fullness. It'll transform that sexual energy. It's ojas. It moves the physical expression of life into an energetic presence that's pretty undeniable. Okay? And it's true, you may feel less desire for outward expression, and you may feel like you want to just be inside, and that's great. That's wonderful. It's no problem. Whatever you feel is correct. But you also may feel the depth of connection and want to share that with another person. You may want to share that with yourself through touch, through presence. It's all about refinement. Nothing is lost. It's about refining your energy. Where do you want that energy to go? I'm just saying that if you want a healthy, vital sex life in the menopause years, it's available to you. If you want to have a healthy, vital, creative menopause years, even if with or without the sex, and be filled with inspiration and creativity and share that with the world, it's available to you. Okay. And, one of the things is that we do need to pay attention to these hormones. Okay. Like the hormonal shifts mainly are involving estrogen, progesterone, right? And those affect your brain chemistry and the sleep cycles and the bone density and even cardiovascular health. Because one of the things that estrogen does is it supports the serotonin and dopamine. And that's our happiness and contentment hormones. And so if we have low estrogen, then the mood are going to change. And cortisol will go up, which is a stress hormone, and that creates anxiety and disrupts sleep. And that can even affect insulin. The insulin sensitivity changes, and that affects weight and energy. But if you look at that, that's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, right? Okay. So one of the things that modern naturopathy and modern science would do is say to focus on regular sleep, strength training, stress regulation, stabilizing blood sugar, because the strength training is protecting the bone density. Also, nutrition is super important. And one of the things that we need more of as we age is protein, because that supports muscle and metabolism. Protein and amino acids are the building blocks of the human body. They regenerate the DNA, RNA, mitochondrial function, ATP, energy production, telomeres, the longevity strands at the end of our DNA, RNA. All of this is based on protein. And also in the human body, magnesium is really important too, because magnesium, there's so many different types of magnesium. We actually need all of them, but magnesium supports sleep and nervous system balance and pretty much most biochemical processes in the body. We also need sunlight. We need regular exposure to sunlight. And so if you are living in a Scandinavian country where you're not getting sunlight a lot of the year, go to the equator for the winter. Sunlight's not optional. It's foundational. Protein is not really optional for conscious, healthy aging. Exercise is not really optional for conscious, healthy aging, right? Magnesium, we need it. It's actually not really optional. Ideally, we're going to get it in our food, but if we can't, then supplements are good. So switching the attention and awareness to like more of a purely Ayurvedic lens on menopause, again, I did mention this. Ayurveda sees menopause as Vata stage of life, the air element, the space element, and it's moving back towards the Akash, the unmanifest. And air and space do create dryness, instability, and sensitivity. And so basically we need to counteract that with kaphagenic, oily, moisturizing, nourishing things. And likewise, also pitta can spike. That's where the hot flashes come. That's where the irritability and intensity will come, or right. And Vata can push pitta. So, if you have Vata, you have pitta, and that's your constitution, the goal's kind of simple. It's cool the heat down, calm the air down by grounding, and nourish the tissues, the dhatus, the 7 tissues. And Ayurveda says start with the basics, and that's food. In the Charaka Samhita, it's the first Ayurvedic text, it's the first medical text. It says the physician begins the treatment of the patient with the administration of the proper diet. And if the proper diet is followed, no medicine should ever be needed. But if the wrong diet is followed, no medicine will ever help. So we want to focus on food and predominantly focus on ojas-building foods. Ojas is the deep vitality, and it tends to decline as we age if it's not supported. It doesn't have to decline. So we want to build it on a daily basis. And ojas-building foods from an Ayurvedic perspective, number one is ghee. It needs to be organic, grass-fed, but ghee. Milk, if you're not lactose or casein intolerant, that needs to be organic and raw. Pasteurized milk is actually not very good for us. Homogenized milk is carcinogenic. If that is not available to you, organic raw milk, grass-fed, then almond milk is an ojas tonic, and you can put some spices in there. Dates are an ojas tonic, saffron, sesame. Almonds and dates together, it's called the ojas rasayana. It's an ojas recipe. You take 10 almonds, soak them overnight, peel them, take 3 large medjool dates and a teaspoon of ghee, eat that together. You can put some saffron with that too. Dates and almonds together, 10 almonds, 3 dates. It's an ojas tonic. You can eat that every day. It improves your immunity, it improves mood, tastes really good, improves sexual vitality, and even like cooling, moisturizing foods besides those that support hormonal imbalance. Again, the almonds are great, but dark leafy greens are fantastic. Cucumbers, unless you're a kapha dosha, coconuts, root vegetables. The spices, cumin, coriander, and fennel cool that excess of heat, and they support the digestive system. Things that should be avoided are like, processed foods, genetically modified foods, chemical foods. We want to eat organic, local, and in season. Alcohol depletes ojas very quickly. Coffee depletes ojas very quickly. So food directly affects our mind. Food directly affects the gunas, the quality of the mind, sattva, rajas, tamas. It affects the 3 doshas. If you're a Vata, in Vata stage of life, eating raw foods is not actually helpful for you. Okay? But when we eat sattvic foods, when we eat for our body type, we eat locally and in season, the body becomes strong and our emotions are calm and focused. The other thing that's absolutely essential, remember, it's Vata, it's dryness, hydration. Hydration matters so much. We're mostly water. This planet is mostly water. Most of what you should put in is water. Drinking warm water, room temperature water, drinking things like rose tea, lavender tea, cumin, coriander, fennel tea, ginger tea. If it's the right season, summer, and your Vata Pitta, coconut water in moderation. And then Ayurveda offers a plethora of herbs to help support hormonal balance that also support nervous system health, immune health, nourish the 7 tissues. If you've listened to anything about Ayurveda, you've probably heard of the 2 of the most common Ayurvedic herbs for aging, for hormones, shatavari and ashwagandha. Shatavari actually means she who possesses 100 husbands, she who has immense strength. Now, it's not just for women, men can take it too. Likewise, ashwagandha is not just for men, women can take it. But shatavari is really the primary herb for menopause. It's lubricating. It builds the reproductive tissue. It reduces heat. It supports the emotional stability. It's a fantastic herb. It's the root of the asparagus plant. It's in the asparagus family. Ashwagandha is the greatest adaptogen we know of. It means strength of a horse. Technically, it means smell of a horse, but we translate it to strength of a horse. It's the best thing for lowering cortisol, lowering the stress hormones, improving our resilience. It supports the whole endocrine system. If you take it during the daytime, it gives you clear, sustained energy without the caffeine jitters. Take it for nighttime, it's going to help you sleep. Anytime for reducing stress. There's another powerful herb called guduchi. Sometimes it's known as amrita, which is that nectar. And this is powerful, powerful herb for reducing those hot flashes, for reducing pitta imbalances. It reduces inflammation. It removes that excess of heat. It supports immunity. It's a very powerful bitter tonic. It's great for hot flashes and rashes, inflammation like that. Another great herb is called amalaki. It means it's the divine nurse. And besides it being super high in vitamin C, which is helping the immune system, it's a cooling herb and it supports the ojas. It balances pitta. It helps with skin, hair, digestion. It helps with so many things. It's a great tonic to have on a regular basis. Brahmi is the herb that we use for the mind. It improves our memory. It calms mental agitation. It calms the anxiety. It calms the overactivity. We use it traditionally in things like brain fog and emotional ups and downs, the emotional swings. And then the other one is licorice. Now, licorice shouldn't be taken if there's high blood pressure, but besides that, it's also really great for hormonal support and soothing the tissues. It moistens and lubricates and nutrifies the tissue. It's a fantastic adrenal herb. It helps to regulate the adrenals and it reduces that dryness. But with these herbs, like these shouldn't be just taken like an aspirin occasionally when you have a headache. It's really best to use them consistently and, really over time. And, all of these can be taken in small doses pretty safely by most people, like 500 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams. But if you really want to dial in what herbs are right for you, consult an Ayurvedic practitioner for that personalized guidance who can create a whole menopausal plan just for you. Touch. Abhyanga, the Ayurvedic practice of oil massage. Touch it's everything. Okay. Warm oil on the body or room temperature oil on the body, it calms our nervous system. It helps reduce the dryness internally and externally. It grounds emotional turbulence. It helps our sleep. It helps our meditation practice. It helps our yoga practice, our joints, our bones, circulation, everything. Doing warm oil, slow strokes over the whole body. If you don't know the Ayurvedic Abhyanga practice, look on YouTube. There's tons of videos. Or email me and I'll send you some links of where to look. But doing slow strokes of oil on the body, you can do it in the morning or you can do it before bed, just 10 minutes a day. In traditional Ayurveda and traditional cultures, oil massage wasn't a luxury and it wasn't even considered optional. It's just as important as eating or breathing, going to the bathroom or sleeping. So doing these oil massages should be part of a healthy aging routine. And if you're not in perimenopause or menopause, if you just started menstruating, make oil massage part of your life, okay? And then shifting to the internal, shifting to the mind. We've taken care of the body. We've looked at the herbs, the practices. We want to shift it to the mind because our identity as an ego and as a divine conscious being evolves in stages. It evolves through time. The first part of life, we're focused on achievement and creation. And the later part of life, we shift towards more purpose and liberation, although we should have all of these. These are the Purusharthas, the four goals of life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma is our purpose. Artha is the wealth, both material and spiritual. Kama is how we enjoy. And moksha is knowing the self. It's going beyond the limited ego, the limited identification. And so going into wise woman time, into menopause, is a powerful mark of this transition because that energy, again, that was going outward now comes inward. And when that is resisted, there's a loss. When it's aligned, it's clarity and purpose driven. So the mind is shifting through these gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas, right? The rajas is the activity, the drive. And as we age, that drive to do external things may decrease. And the tamas is the sluggishness, the inertia. And if there's stagnation in the body and the mind, that's going to increase. And the sattva is what we want. That's the peace, that's the clarity, that's the insight, that's our spiritual depth. We need to cultivate that because our society is not actually telling us to cultivate that. Society basically tells us cultivate rajas. But how do we build the sattva quality? We eat the clean food. We do the time in nature. We do self-inquiry. We meditate. It's disciplined. It requires work. Okay. But we need to do it. We need to manage the nervous system. We need to mind the mind. Because if we don't, as we age, we're going to be restless. We're going to be wired but tired. We're going to be tired during the day. We're going to be emotionally reactive. We're not going to enjoy life. Life is to enjoy. Okay? One other thing about the nervous system, one of the best tools for conscious aging, and especially in menopause, is yoga. It doesn't require doing a lot of yoga, but there's traditionally 3 really excellent postures used for menopause. They're restorative postures. One of them is Supta Baddha Konasana. It's the reclining butterfly. And you can look on YouTube if you don't know this. And then Viparita Karani, which is just legs up the wall, and then child's pose. All of these you can do in a gentle restorative way for like 3 to 5 minutes with breath, just surrendering. Hold each for several minutes, breathe slowly, breathe deeply, let the body settle, let the body surrender. And then we can also do breathwork practices. We can do the traditional Ayurvedic breathing practices, the yogic breathing, Nadi Shodhana. That's alternate nostril breathing. It balances the left and right hemispheres. It stabilizes our mood. It does dramatically improve our focus. You can practice this 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, especially go out in nature and do it. And Shitali is cooling breath. If you're having hot flashes, this works wonders. Roll your tongue and inhale through a rolled tongue, swallow it into the belly, and then exhale through your nose. It dramatically reduces heat. But you can also look this up on the internet if you're not familiar with that. And then there's another yogic practice called Yoga Nidra. And this is a guided meditation. It's a guided deep rest. And it allows our brain to go into these slower wave states, which improves our emotional regulation. It improves our sleep cycles. And it essentially is nourishing to every layer of our body, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And there's modern science showing that even the Yoga Nidra reduces cortisol and improves our immune system and resilience. And this can be done in the afternoon or evening. Mantra chanting. If you're the goddess Om Parashakti Namaha, the goddess of the original goddess, the original power of the universe. Any mantra is good, but Om Parashakti Namaha, or if Om Namah Shivaya, the pure consciousness. And then other practices that are really helpful, doing journaling. All of these things are helpful for life. These should be started when we're young. This is Ayurvedic Dinacharya. This is Ayurvedic life, but they're especially important now. But journaling. Journal, have a journal, a menopause journal. Write one thing you're grateful for every day. Or more. Write one insight that you had that day. Reflect on your own wisdom. And if there are, write down a pattern that you're ready to release. Write down a limited belief, a limited thought, an old outdated program that you're ready to release. Because what that ultimately does is just provides us a self-reflection. It provides us our own awareness over time. Contemplation, super important. And especially in menopause, because in menopause, it invites you, contemplation allows you to be with yourself, to observe. Use your own compassionate inquiry on yourself. What am I feeling today? Where do I feel that in my body? What do I believe? And don't analyze anything, just feel, just breathe. Be present with what is. These daily rhythms, these daily things really help create stability. Eat at the same time each day. Go to bed at the same time each day as much as possible. Eat your main meal at lunch. Spend time in nature. All these things. Okay, this is how we create stability in our life. We should be doing this our whole life, but if we haven't been, there's no better time than now. It's really important. So just I want to leave you with a couple of reflections. One of them is just menopause isn't a problem to be solved. Okay, it's a transition into a conscious life. It's an offering to live a life consciously. You're not losing your Shakti. You're not losing your femininity. You're refining it, and you're not losing anything. You're not becoming less. You're becoming very intentionally precise with your life. You meet your life fully. You give it the clarity that you may not have given it before. But if you stay with these practices, you stay with yourself, you stay with your breath, you stay with your body, you stay with conscious living, let menopause become a path of awakened living, because it's inviting you to awaken at a deeper level than you ever have before. It's a time of surrender and renewal. Okay? It's a time for mindfulness. It's a time to let yourself go bathe under the full moon. It's a time to let yourself go splash in a waterfall naked if you want to. It's a ripening into your luminous goddess self, your embodiment of soma, of the nectar of immortality, of your serenity, of your sensuality, of your Shakti, of all of it. It's a sacred season. It's a sacred season of life, and it should be enjoyed to the fullest. You deserve it. And it should be honored as a beautiful rite of passage into wisdom, into the Divine Mother, into your body remembering that it is the temple of the goddess, and awareness is the goddess that dwells within. It's you. It's the art of sacredness. It's the art of sacred living. It's the art of awakened living. So that's my take on menopause from the Ayurvedic perspective, from indigenous wisdom. And I hope that something here resonated with you. And if it did, like, subscribe, share this with other people whom you think may benefit from it, and share your thoughts, share your comments. How, if you're of menopause age, how have you been doing it in a way that's growthful and insightful and enlivening? And, create communities, create goddess circles of women who are in menopause, and take your power back, take your Shakti back, and live an awakened life full of joy and love. So, as always, fill your hearts and your thoughts and your words with love, and express it in everything you do. Until next week, namaste.